Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron DeRob. I wasn't going to film anything in particular this weekend, since obviously I'm on vacation, but it got me thinking about the rest mechanic, so I want to take a bit of time and discuss with you a couple of things. Today we'll go over how to apply pressure to players who just use the rest mechanic as a reset button. We'll also discuss how to create asymmetric encounters that cause one player to have their rest disrupted while the others achieve a good rest. And we'll also discuss how to use the narrative prompts of a rest mechanic in order to gut check your campaign and make sure that your quest hooks and your mysteries are sticking the landing. So let's get into it. So something new Dungeon Masters have a problem with is managing how to apply pressure to your players, and this is reflected when they experience players who just want to constantly rest whenever they get hit with a moderate difficulty encounter. And that's fine. Players should be allowed to rest whenever they want to, but there should be some sort of payoff for the rest that reflects the kind of risk that they took in order to take it. So something I recommend to new Dungeon Masters is to make sure that they maintain a sense of pressure by having a risk-reward system with their rests that coincide with some kind of random encounter possibility. So perhaps you roll a 1d6 and on a 1, whenever your players take a rest, they have a random encounter. Something a Dungeon Master can do to vary up the random encounters that occur during a long rest is to create what I call an asymmetric encounter. And that's one where the problem of the random encounter can be solved by one player doing something so that they don't have to disrupt the rest of the entire party. What this allows the Dungeon Master to do is create a situation where the player has to gauge a risk and reward. Does the player character do something that would cost them their ability to have a full long rest, so that over the course of the long rest, the remainder of the party does get the full benefit of the rest? This could be accomplished by having a group of goblins patrol the area and slink by the camp, almost totally unaware of the secret hidden location as the party is hiding in some underbrush or something like that. And a simple illusion spell would be enough to keep the goblins at bay, but they don't have to wake the entire party in order to ensure the entire party's safety. Lastly, I just want to quickly point out that you can actually use the rest mechanic as a sort of narrative prompt to ensure that the quest hooks and story beats that you're presenting to your players are actually sticking. Ask the players for what kind of conversation their characters are having while they're building a fire or cooking their rabbit meat over the pit. This will give you an opportunity to gut check that your narrative prompts are actually making sense to your players by asking them to talk about the story as the characters are experiencing it during a long rest. That rest timeline gives the players a little bit of freedom to discuss the goings-on of your campaign setting without having a canned situation that forces them to discuss it with other NPCs. You can use these moments as retrospective situations occasionally to be sure that what your players are actually interpreting from your game is the narrative that you're trying to push to them. So thanks for joining me here at Jacksonville Beach while I'm on vacation and taking a long rest myself. So be sure you apply pressure to your players and make sure that they know that there is some sort of risk to taking a rest. Come up with some sort of asymmetric encounter occasionally to have a risk-reward system for your players actually waking up the rest of your party. And use the conversations around the campfire to make sure that your story is actually making sense to the rest of your players. So, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Dungeon Masters, good night.